Hi, it's so nice to be here. I'm so grateful for the invitation and to see so many people in attendance. This is pretty cool. So today I'm going to be talking about well-being in IBD. And as was mentioned, I'm a clinical psychologist with specialized training in psychogastroenterology. So as Stacy mentioned, it's really important to make sure whenever you're working with someone that you know their credentials. So if you're working with someone around mental health, making sure that they're licensed. Not a lot of people have training in brain-gut behavior therapies. It's still a pretty new field, but it's growing. So even just working with someone who has a background in health psychology can be helpful. So in terms of the objectives for today, I'm hoping to increase understanding about well-being in IBD and ways that you can start to strive for more well-being in your day-to-day. So disclosures. So as I'm sure that you are aware, IBD can be very burdensome, and it can impact so many different important life domains. So we know that not only are the symptoms bothersome and sometimes embarrassing, the treatments aren't very fun too sometimes. You know, they can lead to bothersome side effects, they can be costly. You're constantly having to practice different self-management behaviors, and then of course there's an impact on functioning, so getting in the way of important social activities, symptoms at work. If a person isn't really able to cope and manage their inflammatory bowel disease, they're at an increased risk for anxiety and depression. So anxiety and depression can reflect maladaptive coping, but also it can reflect the disease process itself, in that it's an inflammatory disease, and we know that that can have an impact on the brain. Unfortunately, if you have anxiety or depression or some other mental health condition with IBD, that can just make it a lot more difficult to engage in those behaviors that are necessary for self-management. However, the good news is most people with inflammatory bowel disease do not have a mental health comorbidity. So the majority of IBD patients do not have anxiety or depression, although you might be at increased risk for it. So I really want to talk about the other end of that spectrum of well-being. So this is the World Health Organization's definition of health. And as you can see, they define it as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So encompassed in the definition of health is both the physical state, of course, but also the mental and social well-being. And that's what I really want to talk about and focus today, is how can you all strive for well-being in your day-to-day? How can you have experiences of positive emotions, experiences of meaning, and finding value in your daily life? So I'm going to talk about 2 ways that we can approach well-being in IBD. And the first is resilience. So you probably are familiar with this. Resilience is one's ability to adapt and maintain healthy functioning despite adverse events. Essentially, it's one's ability to bounce back during something stressful. And when you have IBD, there are several stressors at play. And the research has shown when patients with IBD are able to practice resilience, there's a lot of positive outcomes. So we know that resilience is a predictor of well-being in IBD. It's associated with better emotional, psychological, social outcomes. And I think that this is really, really interesting, and key is that we can see that they're better disease outcomes. So when people are able to practice resilience, we're seeing lower disease activity, fewer surgeries, etc. So there's a lot of reasons to think about how can I practice and enhance my own resilience. Self-compassion is the other piece that I wanted to touch on. So self-compassion is essentially kind of what it sounds like. It's compassion towards oneself. and it has 3 components. So that first piece of mindfulness is acceptance, awareness of one's difficulties, of your suffering, and relating to that suffering with kindness. Common humanity is acknowledgement that we're not alone in our suffering. Every single human has to deal with some type of pain or suffering, so we're not alone in that. And then finally, the self-kindness is the motivation to heal and treat oneself with empathy, with kindness. And that's something that we can all strive for. So both mindfulness and self-compassion are practices that you continually have to engage in. And similar to resilience, we can see that self-compassion research has demonstrated that there's a lot of benefits, specifically in IBD. So again, we can see it's a predictor of well-being. It can protect against anxiety and depression and stress, as well as the negative impact of anxiety on quality of life. And finally, we know that, as you can see, self-compassion is associated with increased use of adaptive coping strategies. So what are some ways that you can increase resilience and self-compassion? There's a lot. This is just a small list to get you started. And on this list, as Stacy did a great job talking about, how important nutrition is, practicing a healthy diet is really key to well-being, and of course getting adequate sleep. There was an interesting study that just came out around the role of light in sleep, so make sure you are in a dark room when you're sleeping. Try to have all lights turned out. Social support is really important. So today is for patients and their caregivers. And that's really cool that we have social support in this room. If you have a caregiver that came with you, you also have social support of other people who are going through a similar experience. So maybe you can make a new connection today and really kind of enhance the social support that you have. And one practice that I like to teach patients is the simple question of what would you tell a friend? So if you're struggling with a problem and you're kind of being hard on yourself, you can say, what would I tell a friend? Or what would a friend say to me? And so that's another important reason why you want social support in your life, is to have another perspective. Spending time in nature can be really powerful, and there's a lot of research to support this. In fact, there's this new initiative of giving what's called park prescriptions. So pharmacists, physicians are giving their patients prescriptions to spend time in nature because the research is just so compelling of all of the benefits of spending time in nature for our emotional and physical well-being. And in nature, people often can find a sense of meaning and purpose. And even if it's not in nature, that can be important just in your day-to-day life. How are you finding opportunities of meaning or value? So we know both of those can contribute to well-being. Expressive writing. So expressive writing is a pretty cool activity. You can do it on your own. You can pick a topic, or it could just be random. And it's just you're wanting to write about how you're feeling. And it could be something good, something neutral, something negative. And one practice that a lot of my patients really enjoy is what's called a daily gratitude practice. So writing down 3 to 5 things each day that you're grateful for, and trying to think about different things each day. And this practice can be really powerful of just helping your mind shift into a positive perspective. And it could be something as basic as I'm grateful for having water with cucumber in the back. I'm pretty grateful for that. So it doesn't have to be the biggest thing. And then finally, mindfulness and meditation. These are 2 practices that the research is constantly growing, and there's just so many positive benefits and really no negative side effects to these practices. So let's talk a little bit more about mindfulness. So raise your hand if you've heard of mindfulness before. Yes, that's pretty awesome. So the majority of hands were raised. And I think that really speaks to the power of it. We just know that this is a powerful tool and it's been around for centuries. And essentially, it's being in the present moment intentionally with a state of curiosity, openness, and non-judgmental attitude. So you can kind of think about it as being versus doing. So we want to be in the practice more of being rather than doing. And mindfulness is an essential component of self-compassion. It was literally in the definition of self-compassion, and we know that mindfulness is a great tool to increase resilience. So I really wanted to spend some time with all of us practicing some mindfulness together. So we're gonna practice a basic mindfulness of breath activity. So I saw someone take off their glasses. Yes, get comfortable. So really just allow yourself to settle in your chair. Allow both feet to be flat on the floor. You want to feel grounded in this moment. And if it feels comfortable, you can close your eyes or just allow your eyes to focus gently in front of you. And we'll start all together by just taking some slow, long inhales and exhale. So fully inhaling and fully exhaling, allowing your shoulders to drop. And we'll do one more full, deep inhale, full, deep exhale. Very good. And just allow your breath to come into a normal state of breathing. There's no need to change. We're just noticing the breath coming in and going out. Following the breath with your awareness, all the way into your lungs and belly, and all the way out. Maybe noticing the coolness as you inhale, and the warmth as you exhale. Keeping your awareness lightly and gently on your breath and on your body, just breathing mindfully in this present moment. As you're breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. And as you continue to focus on your breath, thoughts are going to come in, as thoughts often do. See if you can just acknowledge these thoughts without judgment and let them go. These thoughts can be like clouds in the sky. Bringing your awareness constantly back to your breath, back to the present moment. Breathing in, I know I'm breathing in. Breathing out, I know I'm breathing out. Every time your attention moves away from the breath, distracted by a thought of something that you have to do, something that's bothering you, a sensation that's showing up, a judgment, when is this going to be over? Am I doing this right? This is boring. Just see if you can let that go and bring your attention back to your breath, back to your body. Noticing your breath as it comes in, as it goes out. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I smile. And when you're bringing your awareness to your breath in this way, you're connecting the mind and the body in the present moment. The word for the breath and word for spirit are the same in many languages. So we're bringing awareness to the breath so we can connect the mind, body, and spirit in the present moment. Knowing that this is a wonderful moment. So continuing to focus on your breath for a few more minutes, for a few more breaths, following the breath all the way in, noticing the pause at the top, and allowing the breath to go all the way out. Just noticing the steady, familiar rhythm of your breath and your body's response to it. And as we bring this mindful breathing to a close, just keep your eyes closed for just a little while longer and take a moment to really notice how you're feeling. Checking in with your body, your mind, your spirit. And if you'd like, you can offer a gratitude for today. Gratitude that you've taken time for yourself to come, to learn, to meet, to be in a community. And this moment, to be quiet, to breathe, and to bring yourself back into balance. So slowly begin to expand your awareness of your body in this room, surrounded by a supportive community, and then opening your eyes slowly as you're ready. All right, thank you so much for practicing. Hopefully you enjoyed that. That was, less than 5 minutes, and maybe you feel a little bit differently. It's pretty powerful, it's pretty cool. And there's so many different ways that you can practice mindfulness throughout the day. So it doesn't always have to be like sit down and focus on your breath. You can do mindful eating, mindful walking, mindful showering. There's really a million different ways that you can allow yourself to come into the present moment so you can really enjoy your life and find more opportunities to practice valued living. So I'll close with some resources. There are so many available to you. A lot of these are free. For example, the Insight Timer app has like over 1,000 meditations, and they're all free. And I can share this slide. Oh, this slide is shared, so I think that this can be sent out. And then finally, I'll just end, if you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. And the body benefits from movement, and the mind benefits from stillness. All right, thank you so much. Really appreciate it.